Continuing our story. The hero journey and life of event and structure. So the hero journey is a way to structure the story even above the threshold of awareness. Meeting a mentor is a story event. Seizing the sword is a story event. How this is told the narrative structure of the event below the threshold of awareness. For example, seizing the sword might be present in a metaphoric form of standing up to your parent. By understanding each of level of event and the structure of how they interact, we can structure story on the macro and micro level. By understanding how viewer construct a story of our narration, we can make story that will touch our audience deeply. So, if the hero journey is what gives the structure to the plan of event, what does the narration do in type of story? The hero's journey gives us the macro structure. Narration gives us the micro structure. It helps the structure the movie shot by shot. Classical Hollywood should structure set up this narrative question and statement. Here is an experiment I would like you to try. Watch the first or 5-10 minutes on a movie and put it on a pause. Can you tell what happened? Of course you can. You can easily tell the story of the plot of the motivation of character. Now, can you answer the following question? Did you hear the background music? Did you notice the short size of framing? Did you notice the cutting up at the time and space? Did you notice how much we deleted from the action? Did you notice the implied causality between events? Did you notice who knew what and when? Did you know when you got to know information? Did you notice whose view it was? What level was I used? Most likely, you were too busy answering the first question, what is happening and what does it mean? You want to know the story. In fact, you were creating the story. Your attention didn't go to the structural level, the framing, cutting, art director, music. Narration is the control of the flow of information in the story, including image, spoken word, written word, song, and music. Mentor. When I started storyboarding at the Walt Disney featured animation, Ed Gombert was my mentor. In my quest to become a heroic storyboard artist, I was fumbling, trying different. If I had question, I would ask him and he would quickly do a drawing to solve the problem. I actually had many mentors at Disney and they each taught me different things. I'm grateful to Walt Scratchable, Vance Gary, Bury Mansion, who were also very generous with their time and knowledge. So, who is the hero's mentor? It is someone who has already gone his or her own hero's journey. Mentoring is about giving back and passing on knowledge in the cycle of life. We are all extra in everyone else's. One hero can serve as a mentor from another hero on his or her journey. The mentors come out with shape and size and doesn't always look like the classical archetype at the Wizard Merlin. Sometimes the mentor is also a tricker who can trick you into learning without realizing it. In John Avelslade, the Karate Kid, retired karate master and handyman, Mr. Miyagi, agrees to teach character to denial under the condition that Daniel promised to learn karate and ask no question. Mr. Miyagi then has Daniel face his pants, sanding his floor and wax his car. Wax on, wax off. Daniel doesn't feel that the manual labor has anything to do with learning karate and it's being used as Miyagi's personal slave. He gets mad and complains. His mentor tells him to paint the fence and throw a punch at Daniel. Daniel blocked it. In the reference section, the paint fence. Sand on the floor and whack off, whack off. Daniel's success blocked it and Omegi punch. Daniel was learning without knowing that he was learning. Daniel still has much to learn about the spirit of character, the karate. Daniel originally wanted to learn karate for revenge. He still needs to learn that the character is not for revenge but rather for self-defense and balance. Often the hero can think he is ready before he actually is. Daniel starts cockily dancing around and promptly gets flattened by Mr. Miyagi. Daniel learns balance through the pose of crane, the tournament in hero task. He has to deal with his fear. He has to build his confidence. He believes that he can do the impossible. In the end, he has learned balance. The grand post served him well and the bully ended up respecting him. In Tyler Hoffers, an officer and a gentleman, the dear sergeant pushed Mayo to his limit wherein he come to the distinction that he has overcome a Navy pilot. He has nothing else. The military can offer strange place to find matters. Colonel Coates in Francis Ford Corporal Upper Cayley's now might seem like an unlikely mentor for Captain Willard, the one who has been sent to terminate his command. Captain Willard cannot decide if the army is crazy or cards, but he does profoundly learn from him. Mentor doesn't even has to be people. In Disney The Lion King in the Lion Cup, Simba has 5 mentors: Mufasa, Zazu, Timon, Pumbaa, and Scar. Some good, some negative. Uncle Remus in Disney's Song of the South teach Johnny to deal with bullies by telling story about bear rabbit seeking. Bear fox use reverse psychology. In this case, the mentor is a story. In Frank Capra, It's a Wonderful Life, George Bailey has an angel or hallucination for his mentor who teach by showing George what the life of his town would be like without him. For homework in Christopher Fudge story analysis class, I analyzed Terry Gilliam, the Fisher King, in terms of the hero's journey. All 4 main characters went through their own hero journey and were mentor for each other. In the Fisher King, the innermost cave was a video store, literally the place of dream. In Harold Ramis' Grandfather, the weatherman, Bill Connor learned from his own mistake as he had got to repeat Groundhog Day over and over. Groundhog Day is similar to Charles Dickens' Charles Carroll in the place we learn from our own ghost. Tony Robbins considered A Christmas Carol a perfect meeting for our own ghost. Tony Robbins considered A Christmas Carol a fake metaphor of a process of how we change. If you want to help someone change, you paint a picture for them of how their behavior have caused them pain in the past, what their present lifestyle is causing them, and what pain it will cause in the future. Associate at the pleasure and pain are what drives people. Here the mentor come in the form of spirit of the person on behavior, past, present, and future. Paradigm of changing impossible to it possible. To the hero journey doesn't actually tell how the hero changed. It just shows the shape of the journey of change. So we still have question of how the hero mentor help the hero change, especially when the hero doesn't want to change. What does the mentor actually do? Sometimes the mentor simply tell it's like it. In Mel Brooks' Blazing Saddle, when Sheriff Blackbeard has gotten unexpected respect and gratitude for helping townspeople better can understand their raccoon to display the publicity, his mentor, the Wacko Kid, explained it for him. These are simple people, salt and earth, morons. A friendship is common from a mentoring which can utilize many paradigms of change. Primitive magic, totem, science involve a stage and thinking we can use as children. Psychotropical often model of change, and although they are not cinematically glamorous as say medieval knighthood, a friendship, they can still offer up great movies such as Robert Redford, Ordinary People. The Wikipedia entry on psychotropics offers a hyperlink list of over 100 different types of model of change. What do all these have in common? One thing is that they develop fear. This makes them useful for a filmmaker because we want our hero to be afraid. And a successful coach, Jack and Hurt will say, do it anyway! So, what is a we afraid? Fear usually arises because of what we believe. Fear is an acronym that stands for a fantasized inspiration that appears real. In other words, we create our fear. The hero journey also mirrors 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargain, repression, and finally acceptance. This is possible because the hero's journey is really not a physical journey, as much as an emotional one. Now be wondering why I'm dwelling about the hero's mentor. 2 reasons. The first is that you need to understand the journey of your character goes through and how they change in order to make it believable. If your audience doesn't believe in the hero has transformed, then we have broken through their threshold and awareness and bounced them off of the story. The second reason is that as a filmmaker, we go through the journey ourselves, and it's very scary if you will face many unknown at every stage of the process from production to distribution. In George Lucas' Star Wars, the classic example of the hero's journey, the impatient Jedi apprentice Luke Skywalker is overcome with fear, insecurity, and disbelief. "I cannot," he tells Yoda. Yoda left Luke's finger ship on ship, changing the impossible to possible. Luke said, "I cannot believe it," to which Yoda replied, "What is why you failed?" George looks determined on his journey to make Star Wars change the impossible to possible. We need to discuss our belief about what is possible by questioning them and see if they are helping or hindering us. Spectrograms are an optical illusion of depth created from information embedded in flat two-dimensional image. At first, you see just a flash image on a graphic noise. Flashing your vision, suddenly different three-dimensional image pop out of you. You just have radically shifted your perception and thought your belief about image. This is great metaphor for the power of paradigm shifting. Once again, it is time to return to the Scout story. Once again, night falls into the palace of the Sultan. Scout is now fully inspired. Her plan has to go inside. She holds up the first drawing. Clover wedding day is set day for the cat field, for it day of Clover funeral. Sure, I sure got this pass go. Clover wake up. She punched the jar out cold. Meanwhile, up above, McCloud sneak into the palace, preparing to attack. Stick got the message. Wrong! The McClover Burgle sound the war cry. Suddenly, war erupted. Scout continued drawing. A great cloud of smoke rising of the charm. The Sultan perked up. Is the volcano erupting, or did they awaken the dragon? Scout goes back to drawing. The Sultan is really exacting about the tale. The Fiskar enters once again the Sultan notices, and pointed to Scout's face. She is covered cockroach dust again. The Fiskar approaches the Sultan. He whimpered in his ear. The Sultan is shocked. How dare you suggest? Scout looked worried. The Fiskar opened his robe and pulled out the Sultan's diary. What are you doing with my diary? The first opened the book and pointed to Cockroach's fingerprint. The Sultan is shocked. You read my diary? How dare you? Scout never realized her face is covered with cockroach dust. She tries to rub it away. You have betrayed me. The punishment is that. The Sultan God takes Scout's table away. She turns look at her sister. No! Does this spell the end for Scout's table? Is too late for Scout's table? Ending, beginning, turning point. When you have this, you can begin. Believe it or not, I think you live start at the end. This way you know where you are going. I have seen many movies where they start work in the first act and find problem and redo it. Then they do it again and again. When they finally get to Act 3, they discover that Act 1 is again need to be revised so that it properly set up the ending. The ending is what you want to prove by your story. The beginning and ending as the form of question. The middle is answered beginning and ending of the form of obstacle. Beginning is the end in the form of question. Is an underworld obstacle. Turning a point, a moment in story where the action and the hero must take a new direction when they meet up with the consequences of their action or obstacle presented by villain. Turning point define the transition into each new act. They offer a way to surprise the audience. Turning point, unexpected, surprise reveal of what expected into a new direction. Type of scene. We expect every movie to have certain type of scene. In fact, we are disappointed if they are missing. Each type of scene is there to give certain type of information to the audience and to help define the overall story. Their placement in the story is dependent upon each individual story. In Act 1, an opening, action catalyst, turning point, obstacle, crisis, turning point, climax, and resolution. The title of the film itself gives the audience a great deal of information and create expectation of what they are about to see. Once upon a time. The prologue is quick setting up the exposition. Exposition is a quick setting up the background of the story so the audience can follow it. It can be so full of frame of the story when the sketchable tells her tale of the Sultan. She tells the myth of the dragon curse of founding towns. Before it all began, the backstory is all the events they have taken place before the actual telling the tale starts. It is usually limited to those events they have signified for where the characters are now. Backstory can be populated with goals or unfinished business that the character will have to settle. These goals can haunt the hero until he or she put them to rest by making change. This information from the past should be layered into story in a bits of pieces. This lets the audience participate by figuring out what themselves, how the character will shape it by their past. Second, you want to keep the story in motion. Too much backstory can slow it down. Much of the 1001 Arabian Nights backstory was given in the introductory chapter. I chose to keep Constable in the dark about the fate of Sultan Riyadh so that she could learn about them during the course of the story. Let's get this party started! A tournament in the life of character is a good place to start your story. The character can be passive, they need to be ready to dive into the action. The opening scene often presents a metaphor for what is to come. Start with a bang! Get the audience attention right away! Then you can have a more relaxed opening. Sketchable story opening with famous theme filling the kingdom. Sketchable head right into the mouth of hell. Here is what you need to know. Explosion set up the rules of the world. The story shall be punished to limit to plausibility, but not break those limits of believability. Once you create the rules, you have to stick to them, or you are not playing fair and the audience will resent you. Exposition inform the audience of significance of what they see. Show the character in story. The key rule is to provide just enough information to let the audience follow the story. Never let your audience get confused. These may be things they doesn't yet understand, but they are still following you and asking the narrative question you want them to be asking. The exposition should always be dramatic or acted out in the story. Through action or image, characters who explain exposition stop the story. They bring structure above the threshold of awareness. The best way to give information to the audience is when the characters are in the run of during a fight. In order to make story world believable, you need to layer in things that you will use later. If things are not set up properly, then even can feel like they have come out of the blue.